Yeah.
Okay. Hi, this is Let's Discuss a paper after soon reading it. We read the paper for 2 hours before, and from now on we will discuss it. First, we will introduce ourselves. Please, Yota.
Hi, I'm Yota Goshima. I'm a research assistant at ATL Monash University.
Please, Chen Chen.
Hello, everyone. My name is Qian Chen, and I'm currently a PhD student at the Tsuchiya lab at Monash University.
Okay, thank you. And me, I'm a Ryoichi Watanabe at Kyoto University and a PhD student. So today we read and discuss, the title is Behavioural and Neural Evidence for Conscious Sensation in Animals, written by Victor Lame and published by our Journal of Consciousness Studies and 2022 in, yeah. And firstly, I briefly summarize this paper. And this paper is just the review or for study of the consciousness and how to examine the animals consciousness. And firstly, the author said that for examining the animal's consciousness, we can use the human consciousness measurement, like the objective behavior or measurement and the objective neural activities measurement. And so, firstly, how to examine for humans consciousness by behavior and neural activity. And firstly, they also showed the NCC paradigm. It means a neural correlation of consciousness. And for example, if we or human see something, and of course we have the neural activity related to our conscious experience. So, and whether animals have these NCC or not. Of course, the history of conscious studies, the researchers use the Gallup's or mark test, for in other words, the Miller test for animal consciousness and especially animal self-consciousness. It means that they can see and identify the self or the representation in Miller as their selves. It's like the self-consciousness, but in this paper, they also focused on the content of consciousness, or the visual consciousness, or the visual qualia or something. And also, firstly, they also focused on the study of the sleep and the anesthesia, and also in human, we sleep and neural activity is changed, and also when we have the anesthesia, our consciousness is disappear and the reactivity is changeable. And also the other animals, like also the mammal or the other animal, like birds or fish or insect, have also have the sleep likely human sleep pattern like human. Means that the activity disappear and don't move and something. And also the neural activity is different between the awaking state and the sleeping state, but a little bit difficult between the animals. And also we can consider that our animals' brain side activity or something. So if normally if humans have damaged at the visual cortex, especially V1 primary visual cortex, we didn't see subjectively, but we can behave objectively, right? For example, if there are visual stimuli are presented, and if we can ask, if we are asked, did you see something, and we cannot, the brain side participant cannot see subjectively, but alternative forced choice or the other response pattern, something above chance the participant can answer, like which figure did you see or something. So it's like the blind sight, and also this blind sight phenomenon is happen, or not only human but also like the macaque monkeys and the other animal like the rodent or something. But they can detect the like the simple stimuli, but they cannot the complex stimuli like this, or so how to say different discrimination task. But yeah, so the animals, they are excluded human. No. So many animals can have the like the blind side phenomenon, and also in this study the authors showed the the backward masking or something, the psychophysical task are studies, and also normally we in human backward masking paradigm, which can we have two stimuli, firstly and secondary stimuli, and the duration of these stimulus is too less. We cannot see the first one because the second stimulus masked the first stimulus. So this is briefly an example the backward masking, and also this is happen in human, not only human but also the other animals, right? Also macaque monkeys or something. So visual visual processing, conscious visual process is also occur in some animals, not only human. And also the other task like the binocular library or something, the two stimulus is presented, and normally humans have only one stimulus C, and this is switching. And also this phenomenon is happen also also macaque monkeys or something. But and also these are visual consciousness or visual changing is also happen the other, not only the eye, not only the animals have eye fronted, but also the eye lateral animals like the horse or cow something. They have just visual experience or sight seeing different, probably different from the front-eyed animals like us, but the study shows that they also changes the direction of the visual information, left or right or something. Yeah, also yes, that, and also this point in the study that I really interested is that like the table 1 is the conscious behavioral neural list in the animals like man, monkey, mammal, bird, reptile, fish, insect, others. And for example, the sleep list is a behavioral one, immobility or higher sensory threshold or effect of sleep deprivation. And which animals can check this phenomenon, and also the neural list like the genetics and molecular biology or REM, rapid eye movement, or various non-REM stages. And man or human checked all, and the monkey checked all, and the mammal checked all. But how about so the bird is not exclude the like the effect of sleep deprivation is not checked, and this means no evidence. So no evidence. So like this.
I think one of the explanation is that some of the birds, they need to travel a very long journey, and they have to sleep on the road. So there's they have to be impacted minimally with sleep deprivation. It's like a survival kind of strategy.
Okay, yeah, thank you. So and in the table, right, there are no evidence and contrast evidence and evidence present is printed. So it is so interesting, and we can discuss this. And one point also the interesting point is that insects have some check in the list more than the other, like the more than the like the fish or reptiles or something. So it is interesting point for me, but also yes. And the conclusion that that animals, not only the human, have the contrast between the conscious and unconscious. Yes, also the animals have the conscious experience, but there are different stage or different experience among species. Yeah, and yeah, so and finally, so it is good, or it is better for study or animals consciousness, not only but also the human's consciousness, by using the behavior and the neural objective measurement and integrated measurement. Yeah, so we will do study these by using these. Yes, this is a briefly my summarize. And thank you. And please add or explain or something if you have.
Do we start the discussion from here?
Oh, okay.
So one of the things I'm very interested in this paper is that this paper proposed that instead of getting very stuck at the question of how do you know animals are conscious just because you cannot be that animal, instead we look for a kind of functional solution where so long as we can observe the contrast between conscious and unconscious, either behaviorally or neurally, we consider that this animal has some kind of conscious experience similar to humans. So what's your take on this kind of solution?
So first, when I skimmed through this paper, yeah, as Chanshan mentions, this paper claims that the contrast is the important. As long as you see the contrast, we can conclude, that animal has consciousness or something. And that kind of approach, at least for me, sounds something really similar to what now proposed, in a sense, because the contrast requires at least two objects, A and B, and then that kind of relation is important. And so when I skimmed through this paper, I thought that is something this paper trying to claim, but does not seems, it does not sound like that, at least after reading this paper. And this paper basically suggesting that, as long as we see the contrast, we can conclude, that animals has consciousness or something. So that's, a bit different from what I expected when I skimmed through this paper. But if what I thought is, or my comment is that if that's the case, then how can we deal with the computer, let's say, the consciousness of computer?
Yeah,
Sounds like that.
I mean, you can just like unplug.
Yeah. I mean, you can also see do the contrast between the behavior and the not neural, processing, but some, electrical processing happening in the computer. And if we only focus on the contrast, then we can make the same conclusion on computers. But I am assuming that this, author claims that then, or focus only on the biological system, not the, mechanical system. So my comment sounds a bit, weird, but that's what I thought during reading this paper. How we can apply this to computer. Is it possible or not? That's my, comment or question.
Towards the end, this paper suggests a kind of relatively novel way to analyze neural data in order to kind of get past the problem with mismatch between perception and report. And I think one potential kind of answer to your question is, now how do you collect neural data from a computer? How do you do the same thing on a computer, right? Potentially a computer can also have conscious experience, but have different report. But how do you verify that by using a similar method?
So I don't know whether the what you refer to is or when you say the novel approach, you I think mean the section 9, right? Where the author explain some kind of model to combine the behavioral data and the neural data.
Yes.
I'm not sure whether it's possible to apply that approach to computer, but in my mind, the behavior of computer is, I don't know. Let's say we can think of some function of program, like a MATLAB function or whatever, and then as long as we input something to the function, we will get some output. Then we can consider the output as a behavior, let's say. Then that kind of function requires some computation in the CPU, like on-off, circuit in the CPU, and then that can be measurable, I think. And we can consider that, electrical on-off activity as a neural data, in a sense. Now we have behavior and neural data in computer, and also we can do the contrast the A and B, so different behavior and different neural activity in the computer. So by doing that, yeah, I think it's in a sense possible, but not sure whether we can apply the the novel approach was in the section 9 is applicable to the computer or not.
Yeah, because now I think about it, I think this section highlighted the importance of feedback signals. And I didn't do computer science. I don't know whether computers have feedback processing or it's a purely feed-forward system.
Yeah, but anyway, my point is that then, is it only applicable to biological system or not? Can we apply this to an artificial system? That's my point, yeah.
And Ryoji, what's your take?
Yeah. Firstly, I agree with Yota's response, and also I think in the conclusion of this paper, right? Conclusion or discussion is for animal, there is the immediate stage, just intermediate stage, not clearly different, conscious and unconscious, and like the human or the human's conscious stage, or the different pattern, or it's like the intermediate stage, like wait, so contrast approach is, I think, better, relatively better for human, but also similarly used. We can, I don't know whether we can use similarly contrast approach for our animals, because I think we set to the humans basis, so so it may be happen the intermediate stage for animals, the other animal of humans, because we apply humans stage, right, like consciousness. So not just I'm wondering, and this contrast approach.
So my understanding of your point is by like the current approach of looking at the dichotomy, starting from observing a dichotomy in human consciousness, and then kind of generalize that to animals, especially looking for a kind of intermediate stage between experience and report. Like you are not sure whether this whole system from humans would apply to animals, like would serve as a good criteria to look for animal consciousness, because maybe their consciousness work differently, and they might have experience, but your intermediate stage kind of method may not be able to detect it, something like that.
Yes. Well, but of course, I agree that this is the first step for animal consciousness. So apply human consciousness, it's good. But also this causes these problems or a different result from a human.
Yeah, I agree, because I think this paper also mentioned that because other animals, they have different body structure, brain structure, and all these things that might lead them into having different conscious experience, despite that they're also conscious, just like humans. And you need to change your experimental methods and testing methods a little bit to suit different animals, but how far you would go to change this criteria is a problem, because I remember somewhere this paper mentioned that plants can also become irresponsive during anesthesia. Well, you can have a dichotomy here, but are you really ready to claim that plants can be, you know, some kind of conscious, lock-in conscious to some degree? So yeah.
I see. Yeah. So they also used in this study, he used the Biopsychism or a Biopsychism, Biopsychism for something.
So in relation to Rochi's point about the generalizability of human, results to other animals, when the author, I think, did not mention about the degree of difference between A and B or something like that. Let's say, for example, if you test something on human and then see some degree of differences, the contrast, conscious versus unconscious, and then let's say 3 millivolt amplitude different, for example. But can we apply the same criteria for other animals? And also, we can say that then, or we know that even though we show the same stimuli to human, the neural activity will be different to some extent, right? So in that sense, the same stimuli or the same perception should have some contrast within it. And so here, I feel it's important to define the criteria or how much different can be considered as a different, something like that. And that, again, can be different among animals due to the, I don't know, the structure of brain or some other mechanism, but that is something very important, I think.
Yeah, I feel like the context of this paper is like they at least should have a brain, because I cannot erase the image of like how flowers, they would blossom during like daytime and then they cannot go to sleep during nighttime. But they don't have a brain, so you probably cannot really look for the dichotomy in the neural evidence.
Yeah, but, I think that's my whole comments. The first is that it's possible to apply the same approach to artificial system. The second one is how different is different, how much different we need to, see to claim that they are different between conscious versus unconscious condition. And yes.
Do you think it's possible to combine this approach with some other measures of consciousness that give a relatively clearer discrete measure of consciousness levels, such as IIT?
I think at least in somewhere they mentioned, not Angus paper, the level of consciousness of fly, something like that. So I think, yeah, and also other, consciousness measure, PCI, perturbational complexity index, something like that. So, but I think these, physical mechanism happen in the brain is something we need to discuss after we see the contrast something like, because this author basically, claimed that first, as long as we see the contrast between conscious versus unconscious, then we can claim that, okay, this animal has consciousness. And then after that, by applying some theory or the measurement of consciousness or something that tried to investigate the physical mechanism of consciousness, you can say that, oh, okay, this mechanism is related to consciousness or something like that. So yeah, this is, I think, the starting point to address the problem of conscious animal or consciousness of animals.
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
And yeah, that's all from me, but do you have any comments, Chanshen, Ruchi?
I'm good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ruchi, good?
Okay.
Okay. So if nothing, then I think, yeah, I don't think I fully understand the last part of this paper, the section 9, which explained some novel analysis or a model doing. And there they say intermediate states, and I don't get what this means. A state between purely sensory processing and behavior. I think first the author says that there are 3 stages of processes. One, the sensory processing, and then conscious perception of it. And finally, behavioral response based on conscious perception rather than on sensory processing. And my understanding is that, let's say, first we include only the first and the last processing, the sensory processing, and behavioral response, and then try to account for behavioral results or neural result. Then by doing that, they found some missing part, or by adding an additional, the intermediate state between the sensory processing and behavioral response, then we can, explain better than including only the first and the final state. And that intermediate states can be consciousness, conscious perception of some, sensory input. And that's something, or that's my understanding of this. But to be honest, I just skimmed through this, section, so my understanding can be wrong. So if you understand better than I do, I would like to hear your understanding or what's.
To be honest, I didn't fully understand also the intermediate stage as well. But one kind of message, if I am not mistaken, is that I think they try to address the problem of people seeing but report not seeing, or yeah, vice versa, by first try feeding neural data into a signal detection model or something like that to see how well the data aligns with responses. And then they added more catch trials into the behavioral paradigm to change the decision criterion of the participants, thereby changing their behavioral responses in response to the same stimuli. And then And then again, they use the neural data to see if they predict the behavioral responses alone. And they found that those data, neural data, which used to align very well to behavioral responses before they manipulate the criterion, now do not align with the responses. So in a sense, they eliminate the possibility that the data was purely based on, something that comes from behavioral report, and it aligns more with the true percept.
I see.
So that's my guess. I'd say last 5 minutes I read it again, and that was, what I got. Yeah.
I see. Okay. Yeah. I see. Thanks. Yeah, because this part can be the most interesting part. So I just wanted to understand what the author tried to say. But anyway, if nothing, we can finish here. Fine. Okay, then see you next week. Bye-bye.